committee meeting for finance. On the call, besides myself, Khalid Bey, we have members of the finance committee, Councilor Pat Hogan, 2nd District, Councilor Joe Carney, 1st District. We also have Councilor Rita Paniagua, Councilor at Large, on the call. I see Alicia Madden. I know Brad said he'd be on a little later. But he did say that someone would be on to initially explain. I'm not sure who that someone is. This is relative to, I believe, the transfer of capital money back to the general fund, if I understood his email correctly. But if anyone want to jump in, and I believe this is the only item, Alicia, correct me if I'm wrong, but anyone jump in if you want to explain further, please.
Hi, Councilor Bay. It's Mike Canizaro here, Director of Accounting for the city. And
Anybody knows?
I'll be filling in for Commissioner O'Connor. So yeah, to explain the capital transfer, that's something
nobody knows.
Alicia. Can you hear Mike?
If someone is talking, I can't hear him. They're on mute.
Oh, Mike, I could hear you.
Let me make sure it's not me, Alicia. It might be me.
Hear him. He's just talking very low. We may have to turn his volume up.
Now can you hear the counselor?
Yep.
All right. Mike, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. A Verizon commercial over here.
Mike,
you need to speak directly into your microphone. I could hear you before, but it was very low.
All right, what about now? Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I took my headphones out. Yeah, so to discuss the capital transfer, that was money that was previously budgeted for capitalized items. I believe the majority were police vehicles. So to deal with the current budget crisis, we will be transferring that money back to the general fund for general operations.
Right. And I believe the rest of the councilors, you also on the email, correct?
Yeah, yes, Councilor Bay.
And so, I wouldn't expect that there were too many questions, but Councilor Driscoll just joined us. But if any of the councilors, Carney or Hogan, have any questions, comments, I doubt it.
Councilor Bay, I was wondering, Mike, I was wondering if we could get a list of what capital projects we won't be doing as opposed to what we would have been doing, besides the police vehicles.
I can talk about the police vehicles a little bit, if that's helpful. The police are generally about a year behind right now on purchasing vehicles. So this will really just get them so that they're purchasing vehicles with current money instead of always a year behind.
Gotcha.
Okay, Alicia, I didn't get you. I didn't understand. I'm sorry. So in other words, we're not spending money because we don't need to spend money, in other words, correct?
That's correct. It's generally like if a capital account for police vehicles was approved in FY19, we were using it to purchase vehicles in FY20. And now this will get us up to date so that we are using the money in the year that it's appropriated.
Okay. Okay. And then there's also, we're going to have some Moran borrowing too, correct? That we normally do. It's somewhat less though.
Yes, and I can speak to that. So the RAN we issue annually, and this is just to cover again our general operations. So the approved budget is obviously just an annual budget. So as far as the calendarized budget, I think Brad provided kind of a 12-month cash flow projection, and you can see we dipped down into negative in May quite a bit. And then we go back into the positive due to a large influx of state aid in June. So this is just borrowing basically that state aid in advance. And last year's was 48.6 million, and this year's we're projecting around 46 million.
Okay, I didn't get that projection. So if maybe you could send that to us too regarding, and so I mean, I'm just wondering, so we're able to borrow $46 million. It would have been more if we hadn't transferred the money from the capital fund, or aren't they aligned at all?
No, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, so that saved us from borrowing more than we needed to, in other words.
Yep.
And one other thing, Councilor Bay, I wonder if I could request maybe at the administration, we should have our financial contingency committee meetings probably, because I'd like to think that the council should be continually informed as we go along during this, crisis, obviously. And I don't think we've had a meeting in about a month.
All right.
Since Tim Rudd jumped ship. Went over to the dark side. So.
Thanks, Councilor Hogan. Any other council have any questions in regards to the item? All right, so I'm okay with the item moving on to the agenda. Councilor Hogan, say you.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Councilor Carney.
Yep, I'm fine with it.
All right, and as I say, I see that Councilor Allen joined us as well, but I believe that was, and Martha, how you doing, Martha? I believe that was our only agenda item. I ask again to be corrected if I'm wrong about that.
Tracker is showing a few more items. Councilor.
Oh, yeah.
And then if we could just discuss the investment policy, I think that was forwarded along as well. This is just concerning kind of the deposits for the city. There have been no changes for this policy in the past few years, and Commissioner O'Connor is not suggesting any changes for the current year. So very kind of a normal course of business item.
All right, give me 1 second. Any questions, councilors?
Well, Mike, maybe if you could, this could be just a memo, but maybe you could elaborate a little bit more regarding the normal investment policies that we're still going to do.
Just primarily that, we're using any banks, in New York State, and then as far as collateralization, if we have deposits in excess of like the FDIC insurance, the $250,000 on a deposit, we require a bank to provide collateralization. So they have securities, they have financial assets that they would have to sell and, would give the proceeds to us if they weren't able to give us their deposits. But other than that, it's pretty normal stuff.
Okay.
Any further? Go ahead, Hoagie.
No, that's okay. Thank you. I just realize sometimes how out of my depth I am with my financial education sometimes, but these are always somewhat illuminating.
Any more questions relative to the investment policy legislation? Anybody? All right, so if there's no further question on that item, assuming we're good for moving it on the agenda. Councilor Hogan,
Yes.
Jim, thanks for the correction. I also see there's an additional item that finance has, or that's on for finance contingency budget cash capital transfer. Is that something different from? Mike, clarify for me. So that was our initial discussion, but there's a discussion on RAND as well, right?
Yeah. So the initial item we talked about was the budget transfer, the $2 million that was previous capital, and then the RAND was the $48 million short-term debt that we'll be issuing.
All right. So for clarity, we initially voted the transfer onto the agenda, but since there was no comment or expressed concern, I'm assuming we're good with the RAND legislation going on the agenda as well.
Yes.
All right, appreciate it. Lastly, we have legislation for assessment 526 Plum. Is the commissioner on?
Yes, Counselor, good afternoon. The property in question is a dentist's office condominium in Plum Court. For some reason or other, they have been receiving the entire sewer use charge for the consumption of the entire building. We've determined that that's not correct. Actually, we've been told by the County Department of Water and Environmental Protection that we should correct this. And that's what we're doing with this legislation.
Got you. Understood. Counselors, questions?
None.
None. All right, Commissioner Clifford, that was easy. Appreciate it.
Easy skip.
Yep, that's right. So no questions. Obviously, we're good with moving this item on the agenda.
Yes.
And Carney, I saw you nod, so I'll take that as a yes. Any further questions relative to any of these items? Ladies and gentlemen.
No, Councilor Bay, I was wondering if we could get, it doesn't have to be now, but Martha, could you give us like a report maybe in a week or so regarding, doesn't have to be a regular committee meeting, but maybe a memo on how we're doing as far as the parking collections and all that goes? Thank you.
All right.
So Council, all four good: transfer of cash capital, investment policy, RAN, and the sewer charges.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. And if there is nothing else, I guess we can conclude this committee meeting. Yes?
Yes, thank you, Councilor.
No roll call required.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Everyone.